Okay, I'm gonna call this meeting to order at 6 o'clock, August 28th, 2024, at Willow City Hall. Give pledge of allegiance. Roll call,
Commissioner Bobadilla,
present.
Commissioner Ahorn,
Present.
Commissioner Myers,
Present.
Commissioner Valencia,
Present.
Commissioner Brott.
Present.
Everyone's present.
Thank you. Any changes to the agenda?
There are none.
A public comment, consent calendar forum. All matters on the consent calendar are considered routine or approved by one motion and vote unless commissioner members of the city planner first request that a matter be removed for separate discussion and action. Individuals wishing to address the commission concerning consent calendar items or regarding matters that are not already on the agenda are invited to make oral comments of up to 3 minutes. At this time, please address your comments to the chairman and the commission members and not to staff and or the audience. By state law, the commission is not permitted to undertake any action or discussion on any item not appearing on the posted agenda. If you have any documentation that you would like to see to the commission, please mail it to the city planner at 201 North Laxa Street, Willows, California, 95988, or email it to bturner@cityofwillows.org. So do we have any public comment?
Thank you, Chair Bobadilla. Lori Pride, live at 427 West Walnut Street. I have comments relating to your last Planning Commission meeting of August 21st in regard to the commissary. As I've thought about that more and as you prepare for your next meeting with further information, my thought is that that is under the Central Commercial Code where we talk about transient or mobile business. If we're adding a fixed structure to the site, the truck is no longer very mobile. It's going to go from one side of the parking lot to the other. I would argue that the addition of a building makes that no longer a mobile business. So I just wanted to offer that comment for consideration for your next planning commission meeting. And secondly, as I've thought more about the planning commission and all the meetings I've attended and the reams of paper that I've read through, I'm noticing that there's new comments where the staff is tying their actions to the goals and objectives of the city of Willows. And as I looked back at those, I realized I don't believe the planning commission was ever included in those workshops. So if those workshops were held and attended only by city council members and you as commissioners were not included in those meetings to help articulate the goals of the city of Willows, that's a problem. I'm seeing a huge disconnect right now between you as commissioners and our city council. And I just think that's something for everyone to take notice of. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Yes, Doug Ross, reporter for the Valley Mirror newspaper, resident of Willow. What I'd like to say is there's been a proliferation lately, both at the Glenn County Supervisors level and at the Willow City Council level of inaudibility. Seems to be stemming from either people behind the dais or at the dais speaking very softly and or not speaking into the, I should say it by demonstration, not speaking into the microphone. I don't require strong fidelity. Both the City Council of Willows and the Willows Planning Commission and the Glenn County Board of Supervisors have sort of, shall we say, been reminded a lot, but lapsed back into inaudibility, not just sub-audibility. I've been instructed by experts that the resolution, if that's the right word for the audio coming through, can vitally depend on the person has a cell phone that they have it on or a tablet, and that fixed computers are, while more reliable, the problem still exists there. So I would request that tonight and forward that that commissioners and city council persons speak into the mic and make it audible to people who aren't listening by remote at some future time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, we're moving on to the minutes. Need a motion to approve the minutes of July 17th, 2024.
I make a motion to approve the planning commission minutes from July 17th, 2024.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Go ahead.
Okay, all those in favor of approving minutes of July 17th, 2024, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed and abstained.
I'm saying
Okay.
God here.
Minutes so pass. Public hearing. All matters in this section of the agenda are formal public hearings will be acted on individually. Once the chair opens the public hearing, members of the public may request to speak. When you're called on by the chair, please state your name clearly for the audio recording. If you have any documentation that you would like to be distributed to the commission, please give it to the city planner for distribution. So we're gonna move on to A, reconsideration file number UP 24-02, West Sycamore Street at North Plymouth Street.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Byron Turner, contract planning staff. Yep.
I had some correspondence stating that I should contact the Fair Political Practices Board and possibly recuse myself today. There was no blatant reason for me to do that, but I'm going to do it anyway. So I'm going to recuse myself from.
Thank you for coming to this special meeting of the planning commission. This is file number use permit 24-02, a reconsideration of this item at the corner of West Sycamore and North Plumas for the Tacos Ocampo food trailer. This was originally heard and continued by the planning commission on May 15th. On July 17th, it was denied by the planning commission on a 2-to-1 vote. July 19th, it was appealed by the applicant. The city council then considered it or did not consider it on August 13th. They remanded it back to planning commission with the intent of a full commission hearing. The action of the planning commission on that July 17th date was that they determined that the use permit did not meet the specific criteria outlined in the city zoning ordinance for a conditional use permit, specifically the finding that the use is consistent with the purposes of the district in which the site is located. We've got a location map for you, so you can see the aerial photo of where the site is. It's next to the post office. Site is currently vacant. As you're aware, the applicant wishes to install a food trailer on site. The Willows Code calls for outside sales and transient mobile businesses operation are allowed with an approved use permit from the planning commission. We've got a visual picture of the site as it stands today and a few months ago. I do have some schematics for the food trailer information that are in your packet. If you wanted to get into the detail, I would have the applicant explain everything. I've also got photos of the actual truck or trailer. At the May 15th hearing, the planning commission added 10 conditions of approval regarding design, trash removal, annual review, removal of temporary structures if the use ceased, adherence to local laws, ADA compliance, changes, business license requirements, the air quality and noise standards for the generator, and a screening of the restroom. Additionally, there was a condition of approval originally about ABC licensing. That's been removed as no alcoholic beverages are useful. With regard to parking, we had originally said that the parking was exempt. It actually is not. If you look at that map, it appears that it is when you look at the dotted. but the actual parking exemption area is within that dark outline when you, even though the map shows that entire CC area. So off-street parking, there isn't a requirement for off-street parking for mobile businesses. So we divert to off-street parking requirements for uses not specified in the code shall be determined by the planning commission. The planning commission may waive the parking requirements if, through the use permit process, if they adopt a finding that the imposition of off-street parking requirements would require an excessive area to be devoted to accessory land uses to the detriment of productive building coverage desired in the downtown area, and sufficient on-street parking and or public off-street parking exists within reasonable walking distance. The next slide is as a site plan, original site plan of the site. They do have a current food permit. They do intend on putting a 150 by 30 concrete pad at the site. Originally, there was a carport area proposed for the site. They did, so there's a picture. The next slide is the applicant is proposing a new design that's more aesthetically pleasing for the site, still temporary. With regard to the generator, while no generator is completely silent, this proposed generator is marketed as a silent generator, and a condition of approval has been added to ensure compliance with the city noise standards. With regard to landscaping, they're proposing planter boxes around the airport, trellis bushes to hide the restroom facility, and the landscaper to perform bi-weekly grounds maintenance, remove 2 trees, and maintain the curb appeal. I do have a picture submitted by the applicant of the type of hedges that will be proposed to shield the restroom, as seen on the screen there. The handicap accessibility is addressed through the concrete grounding for safe and smooth ingress and egress for customers. Restroom services will be provided by Ben Toilet Rentals. And general parking available through Sycamore and Plymouth Streets. Handicap parking will be available once the grounds are improved with concrete. I've got a view of the provided by the applicant showing the new carport and how it'll sit on the property along with the trailer. And then in the upper right-hand corner, the restroom shielded by the hedges. You are not voting tonight on any future plans. A permanent structure will require a whole new application, a use permit, and full design review. But they do have future plans to set up electrical, sewer, and water utilities, and to build a brick and mortar location. I do have a site plan showing what that might look like and a rendering. But again, that is not on the table tonight. Just wanted to show you what they're, what could eventually be the outcome of this property. So we do have a planning commission resolution. It's the same as the one that we originally brought. Consider a public hearing, consider public testimony and the complete record. Find the project exempt from CEQA. Find it consistent with the general plan and municipal code, subject to the amended conditions of approval. I'm available for questions. The applicant is here, and I'll leave it to the commission.
Does anybody have any questions on that, right?
I don't have any questions exactly. I have a comment because I was talking to environmental health, and I found out something I did not know, that since this is considered a mobile business, that the bathrooms are not specifically for customers, it's for staff. For environmental health side of it, they don't have to provide restrooms because usually it's supposed to be pick up and go. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
And I think just to add to that, it's a 200-foot requirement, I believe, and there are some exemptions to it if
And-
you have a restroom within that distance already
Right,
and you
but
used to
is
use
that
it.
City ordinance is that because environmental health says it has to be within a certain distance, but it's for the employees to wash
Yes,
their
yep.
hands and do.
No public. This is the health and safety code.
Okay,
Yeah,
and
so-
yeah, so I talked to Lynn County. Environmental Health
that. Just wanted to note that if there's a restroom available within that distance, then it doesn't have to be portable
Right.
if employees had permission to use that restroom, if that makes sense. So you're
Right.
located right next to a gas station, and the employees have
Right,
access
they-
to. Yeah.
It's not for the customer.
It's required for employees, yes.
I don't like porta potties. I like food, but I don't want to see the porta. I just want to say that.
You have any questions?
I am going to have some questions, but I have a comment, or maybe it's just a statement. I really don't understand why the city council gave it back to us, because to say that you want it to go before 5 board commissioners, when it passed, we follow the Rosenberg Rules of Order, and that vote was a legal vote. So I really don't understand when it was appealed why they threw it back to us saying they wanted all 5 members to hear it. I don't think that is relevant. There weren't 5 members that night. The vote took place. It failed. I think the city council should have heard this.
For the city council, once they went to the city council, was all this information already packaged for them? Like all the visuals that you're showing for us and all the questions that are being answered?
The packet was relatively the same. The PowerPoint was not shown to the city council. They chose not to open the public hearing.
Okay, okay. So maybe that's one of the reasons of getting more of the details and bigger perspective of, so that the public can see the bigger plan before they take any action.
Except it was an appeal. And that's my point.
Questions? Well, I'm going to open it up to the public. If you have any other questions. We have now come to the public input portion of the hearing. Public hearing is being recorded and is subject to possible review by the courts. Therefore, all statements or remarks must be made clearly and distinctly into the microphone. If there's anyone in the audience who has any print evidence or opinions or statements relevant to issues being heard, please step to the microphone, and all those not required, it is also requested that you please state and spell your name for the record. Comments are generally limited to 3 minutes. I'll open it up at 6:17.
My name is Juan Ocampo. I'm the Tacos Ocampo owners. The reason I not be here in the last meeting is because I'm on vacation. I'm open for whatever the city requirements. I try to do a lot of things. I go to the city, try to get estimates for people for make bathrooms or make a parking lots or pool water, and everybody told me I not can do anything. I need to wait to the resolution for you guys. I'm open for whatever you told me I need to do it. So you told me that you want to hide the bathroom. I promise. I got my landscaping guy waited for pool bushes or something around. In that case, people no can see. Bathroom is there. The carport, I heard the last meeting say is not acceptable. I can put something else. You told me what do you want to do, and I do it. I'm open. Whatever I wanted, I try to do the best for my family. I wanted my family grow up in Willows. My kids play in the high school Willows. My kids defend Willows with the heart, and my kids love this city. But I try to my kids grow up. I try to my family be better. So this is the reason I started with the small business with the taco truck. In the future, I want to open the big business. So you can see the picture right there. What is my plan in the future? So please, I want to try, you let me the opportunity. I try to be better for this city, and I try to do my best in everything, the recommendation you told me. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes, Doug Ross, DOUGROSS, resident of Willows Valley, Mirror reporter. I was wondering if the question legally had been considered of a recusal. That's my question. so that this doesn't have to protract. Thank you.
Okay, can you repeat that question one more time?
The question is, the council wanted 5 members. The meeting was opened with 5 members. It seems like there could be a legal leak that would protract this decision if at a later time it was, considered by the legal counsel of the city, to have had less than their desired commissioners. Correlatively, does Commissioner Myers' recusal constitute a breach of the council's desire? Has that legal question been considered, stated, or otherwise, so that, let's say you approved it or denied it tonight, let's say you approved it, and then it went to the city council, and then at that time it came up that only 4/5 of the members were actually seated to consider the item. Does that
Yeah, makes sense.
do it?
Thank you.
Gary Hansen stated at the meeting, I was at the meeting, that he wanted all 5 of us to vote on it. Gary Hansen stated at the meeting that he wanted all 5 council members to vote on it.
So
He
Is-
was,
is
he
that
was
go-
adamant.
is that gonna cause, it to come back to us, is I guess the
The-
question.
It would be, we'd have to consult with council on that. I don't know the answer to that, but,
So I will throw in that with the recusal, she can never vote on this issue. So the most that will ever be able to vote on this issue is 4 people.
Okay.
So from that standpoint, the recusal's recusal. The idea of the full commission, when the council spoke of it, was more, there were just absent commissioners that could have voted on it. And that was kind of their thing. So with the recusal, it is what it is.
All right, well, I think, would you have any other public comment? If not,
I just want to make sure, so there won't be any legal issues, right? If they sent it back just to get 5 votes?
Well, we'll refer that to legal counsel, but again, with like a recusal, like that's set.
It
So
started,
all 5 people were here.
My name is Janice Smith, and I was here in May, June again. I didn't make it to the July council meeting, and here we are, number 5. And again, I know I'm not supposed to address them. I commend you for wanting to invest in our city. I do, I really do. I just don't feel that a mobile food truck of any sort needs to be on that corner, so that the council, who I went to that meeting after the very first meeting in May, said they have a focus for our town. Well, then maybe the council and the planning commission need to get together so we can all be on the same page as to what the focus is. And I know that the staff is doing the best they can with who they have, not many, to get all of these things clear and concise so that businesses can come in and see what they need to do so that they can promote a business in this town. But for instance, where you have the handicap right there, can you imagine the fur ball of somebody trying to back out as someone's trying to mail their letter? That alley is already busy. So the whole business about where to park and all of that is kind of redundant if this is a mobile food truck. If you listen to any of this in the last 3 times we've been here, it's basically the same. This is not a business around businesses. This is a business next to homes and residences. And for the Coons to look out there and the Williams to look out their door to a mobile food truck, and to the folks who haven't been here that long, who live in the house right next to it, and a so-called silent, and I have 2 generators, generator, it's not appropriate. So even if you did vote tonight, legally, you already had 2 to 1. So, who knows? And I have one other comment, and the comment is about something I heard this afternoon about our high school. And the comment was, not only is Henry's pulling kids away from the high school because it's so easy from the free breakfast and lunch program, that this would as well. And they're losing numbers. And so they're losing federal funds because the kids have a fast place to go eat. I mean, it's their choice, but just a little FYI that this all does affect a big picture. And then we haven't as yet, because school has only been in a week, seen Mr. and Mrs. Coon's comment last time about where the trash ends, in the bushes, in the backyard, whatever. So, I mean, and those are all kid things. So there's a whole lot to consider. And the questions and, you know, the whole thing. And it's not fair for people to, you know, someone to come in and want to invest in our community to run into this and not have all of this knowledge ahead of time. So if anything, we need to be proactive in that matter. So having lived across 2 blocks from where it was going to be since 1964, well, maybe not so much since I got married, but with my parents there, I have always considered it business professional, not so much commercial. And I never got a letter about Henry's either, so just an FYI. I feel for this because somebody's going to be unhappy. And I don't know, I don't envy you your position.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lynette Williams. I live at 139 North Plymouth. I live across the street. My husband and I purchased our home in 2012, and we like the area, and it is in the historical district. We liked that the feeling of it. It was close to everything, close to the bank, close to the post office, close to the courthouse. And so my vision for when we moved there was for have a residential and close to downtown. Something that hit me today is that at Walmart, if you when you walk in, you see this mural, and it has a picture of the Coons home, has a picture of the old library that's now the museum, and has a picture of the Memorial Hall, and I believe the post office. And I said that already. And that to me is what the vision of that area is. And it just, having a food truck, I know it doesn't matter what kind, in that collage, it just doesn't flow well. It just doesn't, I mean, I do commend them for wanting to start a business. I think that's a great idea. I just don't think on the location of Sycamore and Plymouth is a good area. As far as the generator goes, I've lived in Alaska for the last 45 years. I am very familiar with generators and the noise that they produce, even if they are silent. It is a consistent noise that after a while, it is extremely irritating and it's hard to live with. And where we live is right across the street, and that sound is going to come across the street and it's just going to bombard the front of our home. And I just don't see that mobile unit now trying to make into a brick and mortar business. I just don't think it's a good fit. I think that somewhere there needs to be better communication on exactly what can go there.
Thank you.
Christina Ocampo. I just have a comment. So when we purchased this land, we noticed that it was a commercial land, and we went through all the codes. We saw that, yes, a mobile business. It did not specify what kind of mobile business you can put on there. So we said, let's go. This is our dream. We've always been wanting to, like everybody says, it's a good location. Everybody wants a good location for a business. Also, if you look around the map of Willows, all the residentials around that area, it says residential commercial. So when they buy their houses, they are already buying with the knowledge that there is going to be commercial businesses around. It doesn't specify, oh, you're going to live here and you're going to have this kind of business here. Because Willows, everything changes. Every year, there's growth. And it's sad to see that everywhere you go, all these cities around us, they're growing. And we're still stuck in old times. We need to get Willows to become a future, evolve. Not just for us, but for our kids, our community. Yes, I understand that. I work in the cafeteria. I understand that the kids, we have free meals. But try to force a teenager or even intermediate school where they cannot go out, they still refuse to eat. So it's like, we can't force them to get a free meal. If they want to go and spend their money somewhere else, they're going to do it no matter what we do. So all I'm saying is, have an open mind. Give other people the opportunity. Give us a permit, because we've been looking into trying to get PG&E to come out. They will not come out because they need a building permit. We cannot get a building permit because we need approval from you guys to be able to get that. We tried to see Cal Waters to see if they can put water in the property. They do not want to invest thousands of dollars to put in water if we cannot get anything approved for that law, because it's just money that they're going to be wasting. I've tried everything that I can to try to make this to where it is going to be a presentable and it's going to look nice. I don't want Willows to look like a trashy trailer, you know, park or whatever. I want the location to look beautiful. I want people to be able to come and eat if they want, sit down and enjoy what their environment around them. It's not just a grab and go. I guess I'm also visualizing families sitting down and actually eating, you know, in the after school when they go pick up their kids. They can come and have a, you know, early dinner. It's just, it's kind of frustrating when you try and just have all these blocks and you can't really do anything. And so I'm just asking for an opportunity and give us a time limit, but a reasonable time limit that we can actually be able to succeed in. Because everything, we can't get even a budget to say, this is how much it's going to cost us for electricity. So we can't even figure out, well, it's going to take us so many months to actually get it done. So I'm just saying, please consider it and be reasonable. Thank you.
Thank you.
My husband and I live right across the street from where this would be. And there's some things that have not been addressed. I don't think the trash has been addressed, except it will cover at least a 10 square block area. The alley by the post office, Plumas Street, the alley between Lassen and Plumas Street, and over by the high school. And then it'll go up 2 blocks. And it will, if they don't walk out of that area, it will be at least a 10 square block area. Nobody has an experience with trash like we have had, with students walking through their property acting like they own it. When they would come over and eat, they would walk through our lot. Originally, they just came out by the post office of the library. And then they went across and went through the Baptist church grass. They put in a school and they put in a fence. And then there was a fence put in by the police station and the library. They didn't want the traffic either. So all that went down by the Monday Afternoon Club on the north and the south. It was that far, I swear, from the man's window, their bedroom window. And then instead of going down the alley, they went into our yard. They went by the sidewalk on the north, a line. I was home one time sick and I couldn't believe it, I thought it was an invasion. And they thought that line was too long, so they went through the backyard, down the grass, across the front. And that You know, there were just two long lines. I don't know where, if anybody was at school or not, but that continued for a long time. We finally tried to put in a fence, and if you know what a fence costs, an expensive fence that will be in keeping with the area, it's very expensive. Within a week of the fence I was put in, it got graffitied. A fence that is cedar can't just be sanded. It took my husband a half a day to get that out. And on the other fence, the rolling fence that was marked, my neighbor came over and cleaned it. I can see it, but other people wouldn't know it was there. Another thing that I think is a problem is the kids do not pay attention. There's traffic coming down Plumas. There's traffic coming up from the south, and there are a couple of cars that zoom up to that stop sign, stop or almost stop, and zoom up to Wood Street. I mean, they go faster all the way to Wood Street. It's a liability issue and a problem with insurance. I think the trash thing, there's no way the trash thing can be alleviated. But we would get it in our hedge, we would get it in the gutter, and there'll be way more in the gutter now. And the city doesn't have any street sweeper much anymore, and there's too many cars that will be there. They won't be able to sweep. It's going to be an issue. You know, we had someone that was interested in our lot and wanted to build an attorney's office looking out on Plymouth Street, but I don't think they'd want to look out on a food truck and college or high school students. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
So again, Lori Pride, I think you've all had the benefit of reading the comments that I sent to the city this morning. And I hope that the applicants picked up in there that I feel for them, because I think this whole process has been painful. I think every packet, the first packet you had a site plan that showed parking and everything in a certain place. When it was appealed to the city council, I found out just prior to that meeting that staff was going to be presenting a whole different site plan when they thought it was exempt from off-street parking. And again, that wasn't in any packets. It was just going to be part of the presentation. So now in the packet for this meeting, there's a different site plan, but there's still the old carport. And yet in our presentation tonight, for the first time, we're seeing a different carport. The parking, if we never sat down and talked to the applicants about the potential parking and we're deemed that it's safe, staff has deemed that it's safe to meet finding number 2 or 3 in your packet. But how do we know this is safe when we don't even know the parking yet? They've left it up to you tonight to determine as a mobile use, which mobile would imply that the taco truck's moving and it's mobile, but it's not, it's stationary. But people are going to come to it. So parking is something you're going to have to decide. How much parking do you need to make this a safe environment? If you go by and look, which I do every day, I drive by it, the post office employees are used to parking along the alley. There's usually 2, 3, maybe 4 cars parked there. So when this changes, if we get to that point, then your parking consideration also has to say you're going to be pushing some employee parking from the post office somewhere, either onto the street or onto any off-site parking here. Every site plan I've seen where the applicant has proposed parking, and thank you for doing that, there's been no guidance from staff and their staff plan to even suggest that ingress and egress is a safety issue the way that's shown. We got shown a picture that shows what it will look like when they do their permanent structure. Again, thank you that you're planning a permanent structure. But look at that plan. I mean, you'd have diagonal parking on the street, a sidewalk, and then parking. It doesn't even account for ingress and egress. Where are they getting in? Through the alley? Where are they getting off? I mean, to me, there would be some level of staff work up front with the applicant to anticipate the commission's probably going to condition these things based on our experience. So let's put together a site plan that reasonably shows what this might look like so that you as commissioners could have a good visual as you condition it. Tonight, for the very first time, and I may have missed it, I heard your contract planner say that all you're deciding tonight is the use and that it has to come back for a full architectural design review. If that's the case, Personally, I could live with this a whole lot more, but every meeting I've come to, there's this convoluted design elements and things you're supposed to decide, but when's it going to come back? And when do you actually see what it looks like? Those have been my main issues. The constant changes, you're not seeing stuff till the last minute, the mistakes in the packets. And I think it's really sad that our applicants are going meeting after meeting after meeting. And I would just pray that the city is not continuing to charge them for mistakes that city staff is making. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I got the answer for the parking. So the plan is, I don't know, you got the picture in the future? So whatever I got the plan is parking in the corner of my trailer and the carpool in case I can do it. And the rest I want to use it for parking lot. I try to get a contract to people waiting for the decision, or I make my own parking lot and my property. I make my own entry in my property. So I don't use the alley for no reason. So only whatever I want is time for you to tell me exactly what are your requirements, and I promise, I fix all the requirements. I know nothing really clear because I don't know exactly what is the requirement the city want. So somebody give me the requirements and I promise, I do it. So I try to do something better for this city. I don't want to try to destroy the city, believe me. And any question, I can answer any question. The generator is provisional because like I say, I try to get it estimate for pool energy right there. But I know can get an estimate because I need to okay for the city. So the day I got it okay to the city, I promise. Probably next month, I got it energy, probably in 2 months, 2 to 3 months. As soon as possible, I take the generator out. So I not try to make a problems for nobody, I've tried to make everybody happy. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Randy Garner. I try to be positive, but I'm inclined to be negative. It appears the concept of planning seems to be lost with regard to mobile food trucks. We have a mobile food business that's going to go in, but then we're talking about we have to make permanent improvements to accommodate it. So now we don't have any plan for any of that. So it's just like we've gone on this knee-jerk approach to this and others similar like this. It's not fair to them. It's not fair to the city. It's not fair to the people who live near it. Nobody knows what's going on. It's not a cultural, ethical concern. It's and the council could conclude that says, well, we look out there, we don't see a lot of people, but that almost puts more of a burden on you guys to do what's right by the community. We know that these mobile businesses have a kind of a customary, we've all frequented them, they locate in various parking lots and various businesses, and people can approach the business. They don't have to make new improvements in order to do that. But to start off with the clean slate of a vacant lot and start having to say, well, that's where I want to put my business. Well, in Willows, you can't park on a vacant lot. Once it gets wet, you'll be walking in the worst mud you've ever seen in your life. So yes, something has to go there. But now all of a sudden, when we start walking into improvements, bathrooms, parking structures, our shade structures and stuff, we're getting away from mobile food. We don't know what we're doing. And so we seem like we just bits and pieces thing at the meetings. And I'm just saying that it's very difficult. It's an unfortunate that this has to result in what almost in essence becomes community shaming. We have the community members who don't like it, so that hurts people's feelings, and people making proposals, they don't even know what they're trying to do because there is no plan to do it. These questions just have to be vetted by the staff. They have to be, we just need to keep sending these proposals back until there is a plan that everybody agrees on, so that the applicant doesn't have to say, I'll try to do whatever you guys want. Well, we don't have a clear what does everybody want, nor does what really makes sense. Bathrooms, we don't know whether we need bathrooms or do need bathrooms, but if we put bathrooms back on the back corner, how are they going to be secured? we require businesses to do certain things. And yet here we're just kind of trying to shoehorn everything into it. This is, we come back to what is even the community's plan? The city promotes its historical downtown. At the corner of this very property is a banner welcoming people to historical Willows. What does this mean to this commission, staff and the applicants? We hear what the city is promoting, but the city staff and the commission need to be walking in the same direction, or is there even a direction? The applicants want to do something for the future of this town. Well, the future of this town still requires planning. I mean, more so than ever with businesses that don't fit a plan, and not just hope it works out, because otherwise we end up with a worse mess there than a vacant lot by far if the business doesn't succeed. And I appreciate that no one wants to tell anybody no, but this food truck is going to be bookended by a historic post office at the east, historic residence on the north and west. And Willis just got to quit doing this. If no more, send this proposal back to staff to figure out how to make this business fit where proposed, or determine it will not. And don't put this little ad hoc bit and piece of every meeting. It just is not making sense. It'll be designed as other than a food truck and a porta potty. It's got to be something more. It's just going to be like a missing tooth in Willows as far as that goes, until there's a plan that community can get around. And it's like I say, I don't think it's not a this against them. It's that everybody's trying to figure out what to do, but at the same time, their job, their livelihood may depend upon it. And also the people who own houses and other businesses in the area are wanting to know that this is going to be something other than a blight. So as a person concerned about Willis community planning, I ask that this commission please vote not to accept this proposal. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else before I close it?
Brian Thomas. I own several properties within eye line of this. I think putting a generator out there is it's going to be terrible just for the feelings of it. Like, I work from home. I don't have AC, so I have my windows open 10 months a year. And I'm just going to hear this every day until I go to sleep. That's the main issue I have. Like, I think it's left out that there's a house right next to this porta potty that's going to be baking in the sun in July and smelling. I think that's bad too. If people show up to try to buy my properties or to rent them, they're going to hear the generator running. That's going to cost me. If I try to sell them because I want to get away, it's going to be for a lower value. It's going to hurt the property taxes. I think the sound is going to drive foot traffic away from downtown. I like that you said you want PG&E, but I don't know, can you just give the paperwork to get that started? Like, that's the main issue I have. I think a generator downtown, right by my house, will be really bad. Like, I know you voted yes last time. If I set up a generator in a porta potty right next to your house and I never turned it off, would you be cool with it?
You want me to answer that? Can I answer that?
Yeah.
So it's a temporary thing, but like he said,
2 years.
like he
The
said,
paperwork said a
Okay.
year.
all right. It's a temporary thing, right? It's temporary.
Does paperwork say temporary?
Okay. Well, is 2 years forever or is it temporary?
It's a very long time.
Is it? That's subjective.
Would
It's subjective.
would
This is subjective, right?
would you do
I'm
whatever
gonna, I'm
you
gonna
said?
end it there.
So
I'm gonna end
just,
it there.
I can, it's not like response, and that's fine,
Alright,
but
I'm
just
just
public
raising-
comment, yeah.
But would anyone do whatever they could to make me stop if I set up a generator right next door to your property and I only turn it off when you went to bed? Would you do whatever you could to make it turn it off? I think you would.
Well, I wouldn't like it.
I live by the freeway, so. Anyone else? Okay. We're closed at 6:50. And any other conversation, comments?
I do.
Yeah.
So this is we're trying to see if this is just going to work there. I mean, that it's an allowed use based on the information we have. The unfortunate thing we do not have is specific code written specifically for food trucks and where they belong. I think that's what we need to do, but we don't have that. So we're working with the best we can. My understanding is we're just trying to see if it's going to be allowed use here. The design review and everything else will come later, correct? So we're going to do a design review on this, right?
No, they said the permanent structure
Well, This,
would come
this,
back.
this, yeah, the permanent structure will come back. to
That's what
design
comes
review.
back tonight.
Right.
This is what they're
Right,
saying.
that's what I'm
Now-
saying. The design review on what you want it to look like. We know what the food truck looks like. We're trying to decide if it's
Sure.
allowed for the future.
Yeah, it'd be a totally different project, whole new architectural review with the permanent
So
structure.
what about the shade?
It's a temporary structure, I believe, Byron, is that correct?
So we're not going to do design review.
So
on it.
the only thing.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, Lori brought this up in the email as well regarding things that would trigger a design review process. When we look at those things, we've got physical improvements as a definition as well. Those are sorry about that. Yeah, landscaping, vegetation, low-level lighting would be subject to design review. We do see a land improvements, grading or filling of land, removing of natural ground cover, vegetation or trees, installation of fences, retaining walls, walkways, and sidewalks. So they are planning on putting in a concrete pad.
Right,
So
right.
to me, that and the landscaping at this point would be the only things that could be considered eligible for the design review.
I'm just asking, I'm not.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so we can bring those things back. Honestly, it's not a big cut and fill and grading project, and the drainage as well. Those things are taken into consideration with the building department when they would go to pour that pad. But if they didn't have the pad, I don't see much in the way of anything besides the landscaping, which to me is a benefit to the area that they're going to do.
I feel that.
And if we
too,
didn't
but-
want to see permanent things, I mean, like you said, you can't have dirt, it could be land, but it could be, gravel. I think the concrete is a way better look than any of those. So certain elements of this could hit design review. And if you wanted us to come back to look at the grading plan or drainage plan, we
No.
could do that. But as far,
Building, that's all covered with the regulations that come with building a building. There's state rules and regulations. And I just want to say, I understand people's ideas on this and historic downtown Willows. I have lived here all my life. This is I'm not just lived here. I was born here, lived here. I'm fourth generation here. I still have 4 kids that live in this county. They're grown. And so it's not that I don't have that, but I have seen what we had before. We had in the 60s a redevelopment, and they took out 2 whole blocks of what I would have considered were historic buildings. And we have from the 1900s to the mid-century modern, 50s, 60s, 70s. So again, I agree, I'm concurrent with, we need to figure out what our actual goals are, but we also need to maybe, because things change and morph, and we're not exactly what we used to be. So I think maybe we need to think about certain things also. So I made notes here, sorry. And there are places here too that I think are worse than a food truck. That's my personal opinion. We have a building that's falling apart, roofs caved in. I mean, there are things out there that I feel need to be addressed also, but it's all on private property and not a lot we can do. So I just think we need to maybe come up with some rules that are specifically for food truck, because this is a newer thing. This is in the last, I don't know how many years that you have this. We don't have a place. A lot of cities have a place where the food trucks can go and park and do all this. We don't have that because we don't have the rules.
Jan Smith. I feel like when they are planning on doing a building, that we are going through a whole lot of hoops for a food truck. You might as well park it on the street, right there. You can, and you're gonna make them go through this massive expense for this temporary thing to put a food truck when he really wants a brick and mortar. You want a brick and mortar someday, correct? So I sort of feel like, you know, the other food trucks just got to pull into a parking lot. Well, if anything else, if you have any idea where you want to put your building, put in a parking lot, and put your food truck on it. All this other stuff is like irrelevant. It's kind of like you're putting all of this stuff out there when then is he going to have to take it all apart to put, they're going to take it all apart to put up the brick and mortar that they dream about putting? Do you understand?
I'm
So
not sure what stuff
anybody that
you're
wants,
talking about.
Oh,
they
everything.
want to put in, their dream is to have us have
I understand
commercial-
that, but what stuff are you talking about that if we let them?
put in a cement, they're gonna, how's he gonna get on and off? Do you realize how high the curb is on? I mean, that's extensive. You've seen it. You can't you can't park along there and open your door without hurting it. There's no diagonal parking on Plymouth Street. You're gonna have to fight for parking on Sycamore. And then with the post office traffic and the defense attorney across the street. So it's gonna be a little bit of a free-for-all, and then those poor, be careful of the pedestrian signs in the middle of the street that keep getting run over. I think this needs to get more organized. And I have a real hard time that we're putting you guys through this mess, because I think it's a mess. So, and I don't think it's anybody's fault, but I think we need to slow down and get organized about what the expectations are. Because I like food trucks too. But we need some code and some direction on, okay, a food truck, if it comes here, it's temporary for this long. And these are the expectations, period.
Again, I agree
And
with
I
that,
agree
but
with, and I agree
we
with
don't
what you're
have
saying.
that, so we're working with the best we got right now.
Well, but these guys, they've been at it since May, if not before.
And
And I feel bad for them, but I also understand the city has 18 employees. That's everybody, including the street crew. So I get that too, and you have my full support on that. So I'm not exactly sure what needs to happen today. It was already voted down. It got sent to the city council and they chickened out and sent it back.
So we're looking
I'm
at
not
it again.
quite sure legally where that puts you all, but it's not comfortable for anybody because right now nobody's winning. So maybe slow down, have some planning, figure it out so that we're not piecemealing this all together for all sides and have an understanding of how are we supposed to be doing this? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? With code, and I understand that's a process as well, all the city codes and such, but because that's a lot of money to put in cement, because just to drive a food truck in, you're gonna have to put in a driveway. That's a lot of cement. Because there's a lot of mud. I know. I lived 2 doors down and played in it. So, and we're not against you guys doing this. None of us.
If we can please prevent the back and forth dialogue up at the comment. Thank you.
I'm gonna go back to some of the comments that were mentioned. What comes out to me is the actual use permit. So if we just talked about giving the opportunity to start the process. And then like I foresee maybe we can sit down, plan commission, city council, the community, and really do come up with a plan. But in order for that to happen, there has to be a first step. Right? Because if there's not a first step, then it's a no here, but then there's gonna be appeal, gonna move forward. And we're kind of back where we started. So I like the idea of like really send down a plan and for the future of other mobile businesses. Because it may not be the last. It's a good opportunity to also communicate to other mobile businesses of, hey, we're working on the code. This family is kind of be spearheading the new process for the code that we're gonna have expectations for the city in general. I look at it as opportunities for growth and change for the future. It's always hard when, you're trying to bridge, different community mindsets, demographics, what I grew up with, what may be in the future, change is always scary, or the unknown, I guess you would say. And it's a lot of that. Again, emotions are gonna be involved. Nobody wants to be told no. At the end of the day, I think you all respect each other, which is, I think that's the beautiful part of it. We are kind of stuck in the middle a little bit, trying to make a decision moving forward because it got brought down. We're just trying to collect more information to provide more guidance once we move it back up. So I think that's personally my thoughts of if we send it back up with a plan of action so that they understand, hey, it's a use permit, but we want to see a good plan. And I think that answers a lot of those questions that are being asked.
Lori Pride. So a point of clarification for me based on what I just heard, what I thought I heard staff just say is that everything here is temporary. So if you say yes, it doesn't come back to you for design review for this. It will only come back when they decide to build their permanent new building, which means under your architectural design review board criteria, parking requires design. So I would, if you go forward with the use, I would like to condition that use on them coming back to the planning commission before final occupancy to do a final review of the site plan. Because that was kind of glossed over in your architectural review board. So parking is a component on this that I believe is a design issue. How are people going to go in and out of there? And that's going to depend on your decision tonight because you're tasked with deciding how much off-street parking they have to have. So how are you going to decide that tonight? You're going to decide how many spaces, and then how are you going to see what that looks like on the final plan? Keeping in mind ingress, egress, you have an alley, are they going to have to do curb cutout to provide driveways? What's going to make this meet your finding of safety? So the two findings, this, according to your packet, this does not jeopardize public welfare, safety. It doesn't create any issues for adjacent properties. That's your finding in your packet tonight. So I would want to have a condition. I would like to see you place a condition that before they start their business, because a temporary structure, does that require a building permit? Does anything here?
Depending on the side, yes, that requires a building permit.
Okay, so even though it's temporary, so that triggers a full design review then, because it's a structure requiring a building permit. Those are questions you don't have to answer for me tonight. But to me, if you're not clear on what you even need to see from your staff, I would have to agree with a lot of the audience that maybe you make a parking decision tonight and then you ask for it to come back to see what that's going to look like. Thank you. Is that my
And
turn?
we do have again, the parking exemption is also an option for the on-street. With
But
those,
there's not going to be any parking on the lot itself at this point,
so
correct?
they're
Or
not in the
just-
exempt zone. You can make a finding based on A and B. I can't recite them, but if they find, I know that B is ample on-street parking, considering I think it's 6 spaces and then 100 feet on Plumas, other side. And I believe the other, I don't want to speak wrongly, but yeah, there's 2 conditions that if you feel that the having on-site parking, I believe, Byron, do you have that handy?
Got
What the
that.
first
So
condition
the
is?
Planning commission may, through a conditional use permit, reduce or waive off-street parking requirements if the planning commission adopts a finding that the imposition of off-street parking requirements would require an excessive area to be devoted to accessory land uses, and that sufficient on-street parking and or public off-street parking exists within reasonable walking distance. So if you feel that there's enough parking already in the vicinity, you can waive the requirement for off-street parking.
Well, it has to meet both requirements. It is an and, not an or, I
Yeah.
believe, correct?
Are the existing trucks, food trucks in an exempt zone for the parking or not?
Yes, they are, I believe. I mean, I know that we looked at Nora on Willow and I believe Crazy Taco just by
Yeah.
the picture is there was requirements, I believe, for on-street parking on Willow, but then they do have
Yeah.
concrete lots.
the
But they
com-
are in the exempt zone.
The commission did require off-street parking for.
I don't know if it
Willow
was
Road,
brought to their attention
I-
that they were in the exempt zone or how that meeting went, but they did have a condition, I believe.
But no design review. Not that, that's not on the agenda tonight. Just, I want to read for the record what the code says also, and that is uses permitted with a conditional use permit, outside sales and transient or mobile business. That's clear that this is a mobile business in the central commercial zone. And then, action by the planning commission, the commission may approve or deny the permit and may require changes and or impose any conditions of approval that are necessary to carry out the purpose of this title, the title being the zoning. So it is within your purview to add conditions of approval as you have in the past for this item, including a one-year annual review and subsequent reviews if you find it necessary, as well as, the temporary, as well as time limits and trash removal.
There's been conditions of approvals added to this already. We have 10 of them. So that really is the opportunity for the planning commission to add those conditions, to look at it, to require more review. You can put a conditional of approval of PG&E be allowed in 6 months. Those are obvious, those are available to you to make happen if generators are an issue. And I also want to point out with the concrete structure and the pergola and all those things, those aren't required by us. There's nothing required by the city for mobile food, but no, they can have a non-permanent structure. They could do gravel there. Those are not zoning requirements that they do that. Depending on what they did, if they do a structure and it requires one, or sorry, the pad and it requires one, yes. But those, unless, and I don't believe they were conditions of approval, those are at the applicants wanting to improve the site and make it a nice dry environment and not put gravel. And even going with concrete instead of asphalt to make a more permanent structure. But I just want to make it clear because it was brought up that even the ADA parking lot, if you find it exempt, there's no requirement for them to have that. They did that to have a spot
Well,
available.
that's why I
for
asked
somebody.
about the other ones. Don't see that there. I don't see a lot of things for the other ones, and I understand they're in an exempt, but it's kind of in the same boat where you don't have any more. Until he does it, I mean, when he does his buildings. but that's why.
Yeah. Yep.
My turn.
Yep.
Okay, I don't even know where to start. The very first thing I want to say is that I feel sorry for you guys that it's taken this long and that you keep having to come back. I feel bad for you. I happen to believe that okay, I'm going to back up there. The second thing I want to say is that I haven't been on the planning commission that long, but I've been long enough to ask for training, to ask that we meet with the city council, that we create goals, I don't like piecemealing. I don't like, okay, well, we don't have a plan, so we have to do this. I don't like that I had to print this agenda twice for this special meeting. It's always changing. When they heard the appeal, that should have been what we're now looking at tonight. It's always changing. I've never seen this before. I don't like the idea that I'm going to decide where they put parking spaces. I think that should be a visual that we see. I think we should see where the cars are going to come in and go out. I drive past that location every single day on my way to work and on my way home, and I've looked at it a lot. And there is a lot of traffic in that area. Everybody that said that is speaking the truth. The post office traffic going through there, that's the truth. There's a lot of traffic there. I think that we should see that before we vote on anything. I'm going to tell you, I wouldn't want a generator outside my door for even a week. So I think that a condition should be that there is a power pole. I drove past the other taco trucks. They have power poles on their property. They are using power. They're not using generators. I really am bothered by the fact that the city sent it back simply because they wanted 5 people to hear it. I don't even know if that's the truth at this point, because we voted, they should have heard it that night based on everything I, as a planning commission, know. I don't know what they know that's different. So I don't think it's fair to you or to us that it's back here with us tonight. I don't. I hope that we send it back and that we get a plan. We need to push. If we keep saying that we want this city to grow, which I think everybody in this room knows we need growth. I agree with that. Then we need to make it a priority and we need to make some time and we need to get together and we need to have some goals and objectives that we all are a part of, that we invite the community to, that we don't have just behind closed doors with our city council in the afternoon when a lot of people are at work. I resent that so much. I don't like reading the agenda and seeing that this fits in line with the city's goals. What are your goals, city? Communicate with your planning commission. So I am so frustrated. I'm frustrated for you. I'm frustrated, and I apologize for that. I'm curious, did Lori Pride get to see what you handed us about the answer solver questions? Did you all?
Yeah, it's made. it was
Okay,
at the
good.
hearing
Okay.
For the public.
Okay, because I didn't know what this was until tonight either.
So receive visuals today
Okay.
as well.
And I just feel like all of this stuff should have been in our packet so that we can really look at it, so that we can ask questions instead of, we should be knowing these things. We should know what we're voting for. We should know. And I think we need to send it back and see exactly what we're voting for. But I definitely think there should be a condition for a power pole there.
Today.
Mhm.
What are we voting on? Is it just a use permit? Use permit and
We're voting on the conditional use permit. Well, like I stated earlier, we can come back with the architectural review of the grading and drainage plan, which is pretty minimal. And then you would be determining the off-street parking as well. It's a condition of approval in there for you guys to determine that. Again, that's going back to how many spaces you would want to see for. There's definitions for commercial buildings. It's, one for every 300 square feet. Nothing fits the mold for parking for this. So in the code, it states that the planning commission shall determine on-street parking. And then the option to waive that we explained earlier, off-street parking. You can waive off-street parking as well. So I think those would be things that, besides approving the resolution, we would want to waive the parking or come up with something that you guys want to see for off-street parking.
This is so messy. Every time they come to a meeting, they say, but we'll do what you want.
Well, what would you?
What they need to bring, we need to see exactly, we
They
need to see
can't.
where the cars are coming in, where the cars are going out.
If we waive on-street park, if we waive the requirement, the cars would be parking in the 6 spots out front, the 100 feet on Plumas, the other 100 feet across the street from Plumas. So there's parallel parking on those edges, and I believe there's 6 or 7 spots there. And then another 6 or 7 on the vacant lot across the street on Plumas to the west side. So if you waive the requirement based on the A and B that we stated earlier, there would be no need to consider any off-street parking locations. So there would be no need to consider ingress and egress to the location.
And that being said, that would change when they went to a brick and mortar.
Everything would come back and be completely done again and looked at again. And honestly, I think their design is to use this existing pad as a parking lot and develop an ingress and egress to it for the future plan. So it's not a tear out. We also have a condition in there because I heard this earlier, all structures to be removed within 30 days. So they've got a condition that if they take off, that the cement comes out. This is restored to dirt. So that was just another thing I heard. But yeah, the parking thing, if we're looking, if it's an exempt, then we don't need to talk about ingress and egress onto the lot. So that would be a big decision that would be a decision that would determine what next steps. And then as far as seeing a power pole or things like that, if you want to make a condition of approval, like I said, we've added other ones here that are in front of you. If the generator is an issue, and we have the 1-year review, right? So it's coming back in a year, no matter what. But we're open to those. I mean, the conditions of approval are on, if you guys want to see that, don't want a generator for 2 years, then we can set up that we'll have progress meetings every 3 months on the power pole, things of that nature. So we can do those conditions and still move forward with a process based on those conditions.
Yeah, and just to add to that, again, if the brick and mortar were before you tonight, we would measure the building and tell them exactly how many parking spaces
Right,
they need.
exactly. That's why. I have a-
As far as the power pole goes, that's not up to, I mean, that's PG&E needs to grant that permit. I thought I heard earlier tonight that they approached PG&E and PG&E would not.
PG&E does not usually do it unless they have a building permit. to
Right,
go-
right. And so if no building permit's going to be required, that might be a condition that is not able to be met. Although we can at least ask for a progress report or maybe get something from PG&E saying that. But I know that other uses sometimes have problems getting PG&E power. And so commissions have to write in conditions because it's expensive and it's time consuming.
Would there be an issue getting the building permit for that type of?
Well, it wouldn't be a structure that's built, so I think that's what Byron's
Yeah,
speaking
we're
to on
not-
the, yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
City
So-
does not require a building permit.
It might take
for-
extra effort, I think you're stating a letter or something saying this is a permanent improver to try to give to PG&E to get the pole in there, but we would have to look into what the requirements are for that.
Yeah, because like I said, this is kind of new territory, mobile food trucks. We don't have specific code for that.
We should.
We should, but haven't yet. But we got.
So like the power pole, it's something that it's common with the other food trucks. So that, like, just an example, we're setting up a template, then the power pole, would be one of those things, right? But just the process, or like you're saying, it might be a little more difficult, since you don't have that building permit or.
But if you wanted to make a condition, I would recommend that you have the applicant apply for a power pole as opposed to not be able to operate that one. Because that
Yeah, just
is a
apply for it,
condition
get the
approval.
process.
Right, get the
started.
process going.
And we would still have an annual review process.
Yeah.
In the conditions of, just as an overall condition to everything.
No, I would like to see this move forward though, so I'm very much open to that. I know there's an annual review as a condition as well, right? So, it would come back to us. Besides that, no, I guess the parking now would be something we would need to talk about. In order for us to kind of push it through.
Do we want to add the condition applying for the power?
Yeah, let's add that because that's their ultimate goal.
Yeah, that's a long process.
Right.
It meets the concern of the generator.
Are we good with doing that on the annual review, or did you want to look at that again and
Could we? Well, I don't know how long their PG&E work or how fast
Yeah, I
they
don't-
work.
'Cause PG&E is
slow
not-
and forever?
Yeah.
But we could look at it again if you guys wanted to bring that back on where they're at in the
Yeah.
application
Yeah.
process.
Let's-
A 6-month review on the
Just check-
application
Yeah,
status.
Because that, I have never had to do it, but I've heard it a lot that takes forever to get it through PG&E.
Then there's, the other was the parking, right?
Yeah, and I'm finding that just so I can give you another read on that.
I can read it. if you like.
Yeah, go ahead, Byron.
The planning commission may, through a conditional use permit, so we would add a finding, we would add this finding to these findings to the resolution. That the imposition of off-street parking requirements required excessive area be devoted to accessory land uses to the detriment of productive building coverage and desired in the downtown area, and that sufficient on-street parking and or public off-street parking exists within reasonable walking distance. We would add those two to the resolution.
I mean, again, I think we're trying to address all the concerns. And I wrote the list, power pole. The other one's the portable toilet and being covered up. It's in the corner, right? And that was the original conversation of trying to put it away from the public. But then this gentleman brings up, it might smell once it gets hot. So there's always gonna be concerns. I mean, not everything's gonna be, I guess.
That is a bad location.
Yeah,
They
that's,
have porta potties at the high school right now and it stinks every time they.
mean, that's something that came to mind is like you're putting it in that corner. I believe there is a house behind
There is.
on that end.
I think it's great if you don't have to worry about the porta potties, but
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw in your packet, Henry is against you having that. So good luck with that.
Right, if there's a alternate to it, yeah. But would be
Um,
good, but I don't
Great.
know where to put it where it's not going to cause, I just didn't see it.
Yeah, people just don't want to see it as, but then people don't want to smell it either.
No,
Um,
it's true.
And you don't want people on the street using it.
all right. Okay. Anything else that, because again, we move it forward. Um, it's gonna be heard by the council again.
It
There's
is.
a review.
If it's appealed.
Yeah, if it's appealed, so,
So your decision, yeah, unless appealed, will be
Oh, yeah.
the decision, but it
Okay.
will not go back to council just without an appeal, just so that's clear.
because I
Just-
believe somebody asked that question earlier about, that appeal process, right?
Yeah, and it states that any decision by the planning commission.
So fortunately, we get to be in the spot of being the good or the bad guys. And we kind of have to look at everything. Are we looking to discuss the parking? Because that's the last, I think item that was on as a question. Do we want to take the recommendation of the resolutions?
I would.
Do you have any other concerns?
Are you asking?
Yeah.
I think I've shared my concerns.
All right, then, I'm gonna go ahead and, ask for a motion on, this item of reconsideration file UP 20402 West Sycamore Street, North Plumas. Need a motion and a
All
second.
right. I'll move to approve a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Willows approving use permit file number UP 24-02 to allow establishment of a mobile food trailer for property located at West Sycamore Street, assessor parcels number 002-161-001 within the central commercial zone. And did we have any amendments to that? I forgot.
So if you want to add the waiver of parking, you would just say as amended by including the findings for waiver. of
PowerPoint.
off-street
And the power pole?
And then the condition for the application for power pole
Yeah, application for power pole and 6-month
and
review.
regular
And
update.
it's,
6 months review on that,
Mhm.
right?
okay, so as amended.
Okay.
So that was my motion.
And can I get a second?
I'll second.
Right. All those in favor of, approving the motion, say aye.
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 It's true.
Commissioner Ahorn,
Aye.
Commissioner Brat,
No.
Commissioner Valencia,
Yes.
Chair Bobadilla,
Yes.
motion passes 3-1.
Okay, so that motion passed. Comments, reports, commission members, comments and reports.
I really had nothing. I talked enough tonight.
Okay,
I
Yeah.
have a comment. I hope that the next thing that comes on, the commissary, I hope that we see exactly what we need to see so we can make a vote, whether it's a yes or no vote.
I'm gonna second that. Really, I think when it comes down to making decisions, people want to see the clarity, all questions answered. We appreciate all the work you guys do. We appreciate the community coming out and voicing their concerns. At the end of the day, I think we try to make decisions that's best for everyone at large and moving forward in the future. Trying to bridge the communities. I think there's never a perfect answer, but I think everybody up here is really trying to think ahead and I hear you guys are always trying to solve all the concerns, so I appreciate that. That, you work with your community, continue to work with them. And, thank you for investing, again, so.
I commend you for coming to 5 meetings to push through this. I really do. I know I voted no. I voted no for I stated the reasons, but you guys have really been put through it. And I will visit your taco truck.
I just wanted to say, I know that some of us are kind of new. Some of us have been here since last year. I know that you're a little bit more recent. And I know that we've talked a lot about training. And I know that there's the financial, it's not really there. But if you guys, since you guys do have those city emails, if you guys do get something that you think would benefit us, just shoot it our way. I have no problem paying out of pocket to go anywhere. And I think I've talked about it with you as well. So I know that Commissioner.
Are you reading mine?
Yeah, I just.
Oh,
call you
that's okay.
Sherry, but I'm
Oh,
trying
you
to
can
build a
call me
friendship.
Sherry. Yeah, no, you're good.
I know, discuss that as well. So anything that you think would be beneficial besides what's on that you. Just something face to face would always be nice. And again, we have no problem paying out of pocket. So.
But we're also discussing options to bring training here to you guys as opposed to sending you away if it's an option. So we are talking about that, bringing someone.
I know this is not going to come out the way I mean for it to, but it just seems like it takes forever to get anything done. I mean, I'm not trying to be critical, but it's just like, if we could get the training sooner than later, because we keep piecemealing. Everything's a piecemeal. Well, we don't have this, so we'll just do this. If we could just come together, because we're at a crucial point in our city, the tax, everything. It's like, can we just maybe not you guys, the whole community give a little more and push through?
And I think again, like you say, the whole overall mission of a city, and everybody come together, kind of see what do we want for Willows?
Let's be active
Yeah.
instead of reactive.
Things.
Yeah.
Need to know, we need a little more guidance.
I do.
And I think overall, the city council means well. I actually watched the recordings of some of those workshops. But I think that the involvement aspect, that would be helpful as well.
Okay, time to adjourn the meeting at 7:28.
Thank you, guys.